vibes to kickstart your day. This is Rise and Shine on Channel Africa.
Let's talk the South African Federation of Trade Unions now, SAFTU, who have hailed the arrests of former Transnet executives over corruption charges. SAFTU says the arrest of Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh, Siyabonga Gama and Thamsanqa Jiyane is significant towards the curb of corruption in the country. They are facing fraud and corruption allegations involving tenders to acquire 95 new locomotives. The union warns the National Prosecuting Authority that failure to secure convictions risks further eroding public trust. We now speak to General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, Zwelinzima Vavi. Thank you so much, Zwelinzima, for your time. How are you on this Tuesday?
Good morning to you and good morning to everybody listening to you. Thank you very much for inviting us.
It's our pleasure. The former Transnet executives were in court over a multi-billion rand locomotive deal, this dating back to 2011. What was this deal meant to achieve for those non-South African listeners that we have on the show?
Well, you will remember that there are two important reports that came out on this one. The first one came out in 2017 by the public protector, whose findings was that somewhere in February, before that, these findings in the Zondo Commission would have come out in February in 2022. So the public protector and the Zondo Commission would have told the country that there were 1,259 locomotives contracts that were irregularly awarded to a China company called the All China Rail. And this was done at the expense of a local company called the Union Carriage and Wagon in Niger, which was deliberately excluded, and that as a result of that, the Zondo Commission recommended that criminal prosecution must follow. So this is a sequence to that 2017 public protector report. Its report was called the report of the public protector on the investigation into allegations of improper conduct relating to the procurement of rolling stock by Transnet. And so finally, after this long process, you can imagine waiting for justice before 2017 until now, we finally can now say the workers who lost their jobs at a local company called the Union Carriage and Wagon in Nigeria, in the East Rand or Eguruleni, are now finally smiling that at least justice is beginning to take its course.
And it's been some time. So how have South Africa's rail and road pipelines been impacted as a result of this case?
Terribly, because it meant that we rob South Africa industrial capacity, and you know that robbing South Africa's industrial capacity have led to, in the overall, a decline of our manufacturing sector, which used to contribute 22% to the GDP, is now down to 12%. We now having a idling capacity of 22% in the economy of South Africa. The investment has been very slow, resulting in this 0.1, 0.2% GDP growth, as the bosses are now hoarding a 1.7 trillion rands investable cash that could be deployed in the economy. We normally condemn this practice as being unpatriotic, but when you read reports such as that coming from the public protector and the Zondo Commission, you sometimes sympathize with the bosses that are reluctant to invest in the economy, as we now know that the biggest investment activity in South Africa happens in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, where the economy has been turned into a casino. And secondly, that they are making 4% in profit by just putting their money in the banks, is in part, not in a small way, as a result of the scale of corruption happening in the private sector and through the crooks that at the time were regarded as heroes by the people who still see absolutely nothing wrong with the activities of these guys. So finally, we can now say at least we're beginning to see signs that justice is going to be realized in South Africa. We are obviously very cautious because the NPA has proven its inability to prosecute high-profile cases. Look at the collapse of the Matsela Koko prosecution. Look at the stillborn Estina dairy farm case. Look at the delays in holding the people who looted the VBS Mutual Bank, and look at many other cases. And we hope that they have learned their lessons, that they are not rushing this case to court in order to settle political scores in any way, but they are going to use effectively the Public Protector's report and the Zondo Commission's report to ensure that the four people that were appearing in court yesterday, Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh, Siyabonga Gama, and Thamsanqa Jiyane, are rot in jail, basically, because that's what they deserve. Stealing from the private sector or public sector is the worst enemy for workers, because out of corruption, we lose our jobs, as the case is in relation to the union carriage and wagon.
Just briefly, in about 30 seconds, because we run out of time, will the executives repay the money laundered? It was referred to as laundering. Previously, one of them, Brian Molefe, was ordered to repay an illegal pension payout he gave himself from Eskom, South Africa's electricity supplier. Should they be held liable in a similar manner?
We believe so. We believe so. In fact, the NPA must come to get all of the rands and the cents that were stolen from South Africa's public back into the public coffers. We still need that capacity to build carriages here in South Africa to make sure that the 80% of workers now using private transport go back to using the public transport again.
All right. We'll leave it there for now. Thanks again for your time, Zwelinzima. Zwelinzima Vavi is General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions. It's now 8 o'clock Central African time as we enter the third and final hour of Rise and Shine. We say good morning to you. My name is Asanda Beda. Let's go. Here's Onele Nzinzi, and then following her is Sports Headlines by Musibudi Makura.